Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I wish you well. So, Palworld. A lot of big hullabaloo has happened with this game, especially recently. Um, Lots of allegations of asset rips, things of that nature. But I'm not really here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the merits of the game itself. Honestly, I wanted to get to max out my character and do every single thing and completely open up the map and, get all the legendary pals and do X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I saw Arlo stuff, Arlo or at Arlo stuff, do his review of Palworld. He hadn't even unlocked firearms for himself yet. So, the fact that I'm level 43 and, can basically catch almost most anything comfortably, so long as it's my level or low, or even a couple levels above. I feel like I'm confident enough to talk about Palworld at this point on this level. So if you will indulge me, let's get started. Palworld was advertised as Pokemon with guns, and while this is a understandable portrayal of the game, it is not. It is a gross understatement for what the game is and how the game actually plays. And in reality, it's Ark Survival Evolved with a Pokemon skin. Now, granted, you have some couple Pokemon that might look very similar to Pokemon. Anubis looks like Lucario, and so on and so forth. But I mean, it's. I don't think that holds up to core law, but in reality, you're actually. It plays kind of similar to Arceus, and what felt good about Arceus was the open nature and like you don't have to necessarily turn the game into a turn-based battle, but in this game gets rid of the turn-based battles in its entirety. The problem with Ark Survival Evolved, which is the kind of the crux of the gameplay loop that this game is built on. It's notoriously unforgiving for new players. It took me. I played on an Ark world for approximately, let's say, 20 hours, and about 5 to 8 of which were just me trying to get a breather and get a single base set up that I could respawn at repeatedly. Palworld very much looks at a game like Ark Survival Evolved and takes the things that work, such as the technology trees and the taming and replacing the dinosaurs with these pals, which are pretty cool and they feel very unique. And getting rid of things that are, if I'm being honest, suck, like the Minecraft school of figuring the game out, which is just pulling up a wiki. Palworld has a dedicated tutorial, and it's honestly super helpful. And through the first, let's say, 10 levels of you leveling up both yourself and your base and everything else, it's enjoyable. It kind of holds your hand through. You still have to like find the thing and do it, but it nudges you in the direction. It doesn't hold your hand, but it certainly doesn't leave you drowning in the sea by yourself, the way games like Minecraft and Ark do. We think of Minecraft as such an amazingly great, wonderful game in today's day and age for us because we have like rose-tinted glasses. But unless you have friends or to look stuff up, Minecraft is incredibly obtuse, and Ark Survival Evolved is very much the same way. I didn't know how to tame dinosaurs in that until I literally just figured it out. I had to put them to sleep first, and then I had to put food of a specific type that they like to eat in that bitch. It was annoying. It's frustrating, even. I hated every second of it. Palworld has none of that. Palworld certainly has certain aspects, like its breeding, and like its breeding that are very, very much obscure, but it's no more obscure than breeding mechanics are in Pokemon games. And the world design that you're exploring yourself is very reminiscent of other open world exploration games. It takes a lot of traits from Breath of the Wild, hang gliders being one of them, as well as a large vertical world that is as wide as it is, as vertical as it is wide. And it also takes, some concepts from Elden Ring. I think someone played a little too much Elden Ring and liked the concept of ever jails. Flat little portals to an alternate reality where where bosses are held in, captivity, and they took that and ran with it. And I thought, it's a great addition in my personal opinion. All right, I spent enough time beating around the bush. Let's talk about the pals. We've got about 130 to 100. We've got about I'd say roughly 120 different pals in Palworld. That's not necessarily including all of the different. That's including a lot of the variations. When in reality, there's about 80 to 90 unique pals. There's a lot of padding in regards to pals that come one way default might come in another element otherwise. And you might think, oh, that's just cookie cutter reusing. Well, I mean, for a creature collection game where high numbers matter, that especially with everything else that is in this game and the loot that comes with it, I'm not upset with it in the slightest. In fact, I like seeing the different designs. They look like they actually put some level of effort into the alternate designs instead of just doing a palette swap. Although a couple of them very much are that. There are a few different types. You have the, let me see if I can pull up the Palworld type wheel, just so I have it for a quick reference. You have multiple different types of elemental pals, and they can come in dual typing. You have water, fire, grass, ground, electric, ice, dragon, dark, neutral. Grass beats ground, ground beats electric, electric beats water, water beats fire, fire beats grass and ice, ice beats dragon, dragon beats dark, dark beats neutral. I said normal, it's neutral. If you just pull up Palworld type wheel onto Google, you can see it. It's a really handy graphic. The pals themselves range from, they have a lot of character. Like, obviously, they feel, there's a handful of pals that feel like fake mon, obviously, but then there's some pals that you look at, this has got to be a Pokemon, right? And it's not. And honestly, I really, really like that. There's some pals I look at and I'm like, and I think design-wise, oh, I really, really enjoy this. Chillette is a really, really good example of this. Another one is Uzvolt, which is a kind of like a electric deer, a horse deer. Another one I like is Penguin, which is literally a little fucking penguin. It's quite wonderful, actually. You have some pals that very, very much look like Pokemon counterparts. You have Anubis that looks remarkably like Lucario. You have Dire Howl that looks very, very much like a dusk or midday Lycanroc. And you have and you have a Gardevoir knockoff. But granted, that's a legendary pal you do not see until much further into the game. Let's talk about the game, right? Let's talk about the gameplay loop core. I've talked very broad strokes about Palworld thus far. In Palworld, you have you start with nothing but the clothes on your back, and your tutorial tells you go to this little shrine, activate it. You've activated your first fast travel point. You gather some stone, you gather some wood, some wood through the form of sticks on the ground, and you gather these things called pal fragments, which are this little blue ore that you can find, and then you use that to make a workbench. Use the workbench, and the workbench is going to be what you use primarily to build things. You're going to use your workbench to build torch to keep warm at night. You're going to build a club to whack the shit out of pals, and you're going to build some pal spheres, which are basically your knockoff Pokeballs, and use them to catch pals. There is a nice, really interesting effect where, unlike something like Arceus, where you just throw the ball and you just pray it works. You don't really see it's kind of hard to see the shape. In Palworld, there is a literal signifier. Let me use words properly. There is a UI component that comes up onto the screen that increases the percent that when you catch it, you have a base percentage chance. If it gets caught, the percentage chance goes up. If that ticks, it goes up even more. And if that ticks, it goes up even more. And then if it ticks a third time, it's been caught. There are that UI component adds a lot of enjoyment to the process of catching. You're not just seeing the tilts of a pal sphere. You're also seeing the likelihood that it's going to happen, and it allows you to play numbers games in your head. Palworld's very transparent with what you can and can't do. Things that are a higher level than you, you're really not going to be able to catch them. Also, all the pals want to kill you. It is very, very explicit. If you go, there are pals that are very passive, like Teofant, like Lamble, Katvia, Hengalet, but then there's other pals, or a Celeray, and then there's pals that will fight you on sight, like your dire wolves, like anything in the non-starter zones. Most of it's not going to be until you get far away from the base game areas that things are going to want to fucking fight you. In fact, I would also argue that even the large bosses that are roaming around in the said starter areas don't want to fight you either. A lot of the enemies are fairly passive in the beginning game, which makes it easier for you to start a starting base, start building a house, and start getting your pals to work. Getting your pals to work, let's talk about it. People say, oh, you can kill pals and do and fight and do all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. In reality, there's actually very little incentive to kill pals other than just being a bit of a dickhead or lazy. Catching pals routinely is just as effective at getting the materials they drop as killing them. And it feels much more humane. Also, if you treat your pals poorly and don't give them the necessary rations and amenities they need to rest and take care of themselves at your base, including hot springs, beds, food feed piles, and things of that nature, their sanity goes down. They get hurt, they get sick. You have to take care of your pals. It's a much more active, invested process in terms of making sure that go up and pet them every once in a while. Of course, you could do what I do and just dump them in the PC box if they get too hurt. Of course, I'm a bit of a piece of shit in that regard. And the base building is kind of where I would describe the game, the true joy in the game that I found personally has been the exploration. And you'll explore and you'll explore and you'll explore different parts of the map until you hit a wall. You're like, oh, these pals will insta-kill me or get pretty close. Let me bounce and go do some grinding. And so what you then go do is you go back to earlier areas, you catch pals, you get catch bonuses up until you can catch a single type of pal 10 times and then get experience bonuses for each one of them. It's actually arguably the best way to get experience in the game, especially early on. Subsequently, you will, hit those walled areas. You'll go back, get some XP up, get some points, build your base up, get access to new tools, get access to new PAL abilities through the different stations you use. There's multiple different tables you can use, and depending on what your pals are good at, they can even go and build things for you while you're taking care of other stuff. You will go get more weapons, raise your pals more, maybe breed something if you want to, and then after a couple levels or just some a training montage, and some new fat gear and loot, you're able to go into these new areas and feel relatively comfortable. Gaining access to new pals and starting the whole thing over again, catching new pals of different types and attributes that have different abilities that are even better than previous ones. Yeah, Akatria is able to have handiwork and maneuvering, which will allow you them to build shit and carry shit to and from boxes and stuff. But you get a Wumple, a big abominable snowman looking motherfucker, but also stylized to look like a Pokemon, so it's arguably adorable. And it's able to just pick up thousands of pounds of shit and move it for you. Or an Anubis, which will literally take something that requires, hours and hours to build, an entire stack of, and do it in minutes. Similar to in the Pokemon games, just to take an example of Pokemon Red and Blue, for example. Similar to how, like, if you wanted a bug-type Pokemon on your team, you would pick up, Beedrill or Butterfree, and then the thought process would be you get to the Safari Zone, you pick up a Scyther, a objectively stronger bug-type Pokemon. Granted, that's not how it necessarily works. People want to keep the thing that they like, and that's fair. But it very much works here in Palworld, because while you can keep the pals on the team that you want to keep, you also have the added ability of just using pals that you otherwise wouldn't have kept. You don't want to trade things out on your team. Great, put them to work in your base. Because at the end of the day, like, the pals you use to battle and explore the world and traverse are less important. Not less important. They're separate from the ones that are working. Yeah, you can throw one out at a time to help out if you need to, but they're your partners. Your workers are a little different. You have to treat your workers well, obviously. Otherwise, shit doesn't get done. Just like in Pokemon, how there's a bunch of different types of balls, there are different types of balls in Palworld. All the way up to there, you have your Pal Spheres, you have your Mega Spheres, your Giga Spheres, your I forget all the names. You have your Blue Sphere, which is the base. You have your Green Sphere, which is the next highest up. You have the Yellow Sphere, which is the next one after that. Your Red, which is after that. Your Purple, which is after your Pink, which is after that. And I think your Purple, or Orange, which is after that. I haven't unlocked the Legendary one, which has the best catch rate. And if you've been picking up the little leaf mink, green glowing statues you see across the arpeggio, and upgrading them at the statue, don't worry about me not explaining that. It's covered in the tutorial. This will allow you will be able to go and catch legendary pals at different sites around the map. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you, if you see something out in the distance, go to it. Just because the water looks endless doesn't mean there's nothing out there. Just saying. But that being said, the goal of this game is really takes the kind of the Breath of the Wild thing of just go find the 3 static things, beat the thing inside of it, and then get to the final bit of the tree. This is probably going to be a part of this review. While it's not quite done, I do want to note, as far as the story is concerned, very bare bones. There seems to be some level of intent there. I'm curious to see what the end looks like, but it's going to take a little bit for me to get there. So I wanted to just make sure that I did this review some justice, and I'll talk about the ending of it at the end once I see it. But even so, Palworld does a lot of things very, very well. The pals feel unique and interesting and endearing enough. I like a lot. There's certain pals that I really, really like. I am in love with Lamble. He is my favorite little bean, and I love him a lot. And the game itself has a really solid gameplay loop that doesn't really get boring. It is an unbelievably grindy game, and it absolutely is an early access because the AI is stupid. But if you loved Pokemon Arceus and want more of that, and you can't wait for Pokemon Legends ZA to come out, which was announced just recently, Palworld is for you if you haven't already bought it. Definitely a enjoyable experience, something I would recommend to any Pokemon fan who also grew up playing Minecraft. Because as long as if you like Pokemon and you played Minecraft and enjoyed Minecraft at some point in your life, this is on brand for you. Go for it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to I Can't Shut Up Unless You Tell Me To. I've been your host. I appreciate you, your time, and your listenership. If you want to support the show, please go to HIMedia.gg/donate to support. I appreciate you, your time, and your listenership, and I hope you have a wonderful day.